Hello everybody, Angel Arts here, and welcome to a very special series. I have here with me four of my YouTube buddies, four great fans of Telltale's The Walking Dead, with Season 2 already upon us. The five of us thought it would be really fun for us to get together in between each episode, or rather after each episode of Season 2, to just put our heads together, talk about the game, and analyze characters, analyze story development, plot, give our predictions about what we think might be happening later in the season, and other stuff like that. So if that sounds like something that is intriguing to you, please join us. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun, and maybe you'll learn something out of it as well. The first thing I'd like to do before we continue is I'd like for us to go around and we'll introduce ourselves. For those of you who might not have seen or been to these people's channels. Once again, ladies first. Kathleen, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about your channel and what kind of games you are interested in, and briefly what brought you into the Walking Dead video game series.
Okay, hey, I'm Kathleenums, and I am a huge fan of The Walking Dead, both the TV series and the comic books and the game. And so that's kind of what drew me into The Walking Dead, the game, was just my overall love for the franchise. I do video game reviews, and I also do analytical videos where I talk about the individual characters and the story development within games, because I'm a literature major and story development is something that really intrigues me. So, yeah.
All right. Next up, Reclusiarch, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Yeah, I'm Reclusiarch, also known as David. I'm a Let's Player, and I do Let's Plays of games like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, anything with a good story, anything with good digital acting. Also do quite a bit of first-person shooting Let's Play, which might sound boring, but it isn't. It's great fun. So there you go.
All right, Lucky Jack 20, you're next.
All right. Hello everybody, I am Lucky Jack 20. I am also a Let's Playing person, and I have actually recently finished Let's Play of Walking Dead Season 1. I'm a huge fan of the series right now. I play more games that are platformers, some of them are RPGs. Anything with just a really great soundtrack I typically love. And I stay away from sports games.
And last but not least, joining us for the first time, a great buddy of mine who I've been wanting to do a collaborative project with for a while, and this is his, I guess, first time working with us in a podcast setting. Self Leader Carson.
Hey guys, Sales Leader Carson here. My actual name is Carson. I'm a Let's Player, a fan of the Walking Dead show and the game itself. What drew me in from the game, I would say, was basically the platform of it, and that it itself was from The Walking Dead, but it's a spin-off of it. And what my channel is about is basically, it's about playing games that I usually do, from scary games to great story games to even just having fun with it. And a lot of people like my sense of humor, and most of my time I say my motto is join the Selves Leader army, be the leader of yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carson.
No problem.
So before we dive right in, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the scope of this actual series is going to be. Even though there are a bunch of us here, including myself, who are big fans of the TV show, who have read the graphic novels, I've read the graphic novels myself, we're going to make it a point to not talk that much about those sources as much as possible, because we don't want to give away any spoilers for any of you who have not watched the TV show or read the comics. So don't worry about that. We're pretty much going to just be talking about the actual Telltale game itself. Okay? So let's start at the very beginning of Season 2. We open up and we see Clementine at first she's by herself. You're not really sure how she got out of that mess that she was in at the end of season 1, and then you hear a couple voices talking, and lo and behold, it's Kristen O'Mead. How'd you guys react to that?
A very
Carson.
A very pregnant Krista, if I may point out too.
Call it.
Did it bother any of you at all that they kind of didn't really show what happened from the moment that, you know, Clementine saw those two figures in the distance to, you know, them being at the diner, the 400 Days DLC diner, by the way?
I actually like that a lot, because I like to be able to fill in things and blanks with my own imagination. They don't have to show everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes it feel more natural to me.
Well, I'm gonna point out that I kind of liked the idea where it was Clementine finding Omid and Krista, because I felt like with that you could feel a little bit at ease. Like, okay, Clementine's okay, she's fine, she's hanging on her own with the two people that she definitely trusts, and I don't need to worry about like she's starving, she's like a Skeletor boneless girl looking for food.
That's a very good observation, Carson, when you said that Clementine was the one who found Kristen O'Mead, because if you remember, at least for my playthrough, Lee specifically tells the three of both Omid and Krista and Clementine to meet at the train station.
Yeah.
But at the end of episode 1, they're nowhere near the train station. So I guess one can deduce that somehow either maybe Omid and Krista didn't make it to the train station and they got waylaid somehow, and then I guess Clementine was able to find them after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what we're supposed to get from that particular transition. I don't know.
I noted that. I was like, that is nowhere near the train station. I didn't know any giant fields of grass near the city, and
yeah.
So I guess I can only assume that maybe the zombies or something. Walkers. I'm kind of good. The walkers probably just, I guess, overran the train. I guess they just sort of re-strategized. But yeah, agreeing with Carson, I was very happy to see that she at least made it with that. That I could assume that the figures were Omid and Kristen, that they did all safely reunite with one another.
It makes me wonder if the writers had already decided if those two figures in the distance were actually Omid and Krista, or if they were, you know, walkers or complete strangers, because they left it ambiguous, I'm sure on purpose, but I'm wondering if the writers at that point had already decided, yeah, those are definitely Omid and Krista.
Or do you think like they had like a poll or something saying who would you like those figures to be, and they worked with that?
I don't know if they did that. That's a good question.
They could have probably done that, and everybody agreed, oh, it should be Omid and Krista. It would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, since they have a season 2 already planned out when season 1 ended, I think they had to have some kind of red line going into season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, they probably knew that was Omid and Krista. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did it just to make Clementine seem more vulnerable at the end of the story, because you didn't know if she was going to make it out okay. You didn't know who she was going to end up pairing up with, if those people would have been hostile or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they just kind of wanted to leave us hanging with that, so that we didn't really know who she was going to end up with. But I'm pretty sure they had it planned that it was going to be Omid and Krista. But just my thought.
When you guys are playing through the game in general, did you find yourself playing the game differently as Clementine versus Lee? Because you're kind of placed into a completely different character. You've got this grown gentleman, and then you've got this little girl. Like, tell me about your experience at the very beginning making that transition from one character to another.
I'm going to save my thought, so I'll let somebody else answer that. I want to see what they say first.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Logan.
No, Dave, you go.
All right. I know one of my doubts I had with the game when I started it was that First of all, I had a fairly easy time playing Lee and having this like father figure over Clementine. But then in season 2, we're playing as Clementine, so I was afraid that I wouldn't like, get into character. But it turns out that I replaced Lee with myself, so I'm the father figure, like behind the screen, helping Clementine. So that worked very well for me, and I still project my own feelings and choices into the character of Clementine, and surprisingly, I had no trouble with that whatsoever. So there you go.
That's pretty neat. So you sort of place yourself in the role of like the spiritual guardian who was guiding Clementine.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. That's actually pretty cool. How about the rest of you guys? How did you guys transition? Did you transition easily, or did it take some time for you to?
Well, I'm gonna say it took me some time because I felt like I really liked Lee at the end of season 1, at the beginning of season 1, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool guy. I really like playing as him. I really wish we can go more with this guy. And when you see him die at the end of season 1, you're like, oh. And then when you play as Clementine, you just get this awkward position, like, I don't know how to react to this. I mean, I'm glad I'm playing as her, but how do I transition from Lee, from being like this badass, to Clementine, who we don't know if she's gonna transition to that stage too?
Yeah.
I guess going off of that, yeah, I appreciated that they kept some familiarity and they had us playing a character that we at least recognized and knew pretty clearly from season 1. It wasn't like because that did throw me off with 400 Days quite a bit, having the different characters each time and having to take on almost a whole new personality, not knowing anything about them. So, also agreeing with Dave, I did put a lot of Lee's. I took a more vulnerable mindset playing as Clementine, trying to put myself in that position. Also because at the start of season 1, we already knew that Lee had killed someone for some reason. And in my story, Clem had killed several other people as well, the Walker and the Stranger. It was her who shot him. But I didn't want her to make that full transition into complete hostility towards everything, though, was the thing. I was still trying to, at least with my choices, persist in having some of that innocence be kept throughout as long as the story will allow it, because I know at some point there's going to be probably something that causes my innocence to come into question, then it's probably going to be something that Telltale does brilliantly or some crap like that.
Yeah. Well, with me, I have to say I enjoyed this season. I enjoyed this first episode more than I enjoyed the entirety of the first season. And I loved the first season, but I had goosebumps the entire time I was playing this episode because not only did I kind of project myself as a guardian of her, but I related to Clementine a lot throughout this whole experience. And it was so much more vulnerable than the first season was, because here you're wondering through, and I'll try not to get too ahead of myself. I'll try to keep some of this for later. But I mean, there's so many times where you're just alone, and I think that's that feeling of loneliness and like abandon, that she's just abandoned. It really broke my heart the entire time I was playing.
Kathleen, do you, and excuse me if this sounds a little ignorant, but do you think that it was easier for you because you were female, or you don't think that has anything to do with it at all?
I think, I've been told that I relate to female characters. Like when I played The Last of Us, I took Ellie's perspective, and a lot of people take Joel's perspective. So I think it does, especially because I think it's mostly about experiences, and like as a woman, I definitely am more familiar with that vulnerable, terrified feeling, because like there's many times where I experienced that as a woman, and I think, talking to my male friends, I don't know if they experience that as often as I do. Because, I mean, even something like walking down the street alone for a woman. So I think that's something that I'm very familiar with.
I think that makes sense. Going further in through what I pretty much refer as the prologue, Clementine goes into the bathroom, and then she runs into Michelle, the girl with
Oh,
the
that
with
was
the
her
gun.
name?
Michelle.
Her name is Michelle. I don't know if she actually was ever, if she actually ever gives her name. I only know that because of the wiki that I looked up
Yes.
afterwards.
I don't know why they would give her a name like that, or just be that specific.
Yeah.
Just like stranger girl aiming gun like that. I thought
It
it'd be
was,
like a name like that.
for me, it was pretty jarring how, and I guess maybe this is just the way the world is the way she definitely did not see Clementine as a little girl. Like, she treated her as if
She was just someone
she,
alive.
She was just
Like,
someone alive
she was
that
a
she could take
threat.
stuff from.
Yeah.
Right,
Like, she was a
exactly.
threat.
I don't know if the
and-
gun. I don't know if her finding the gun may have affected her choice or how she approached that, though.
Say that again, Logan. I'm sorry.
I was saying I also don't know if maybe when she found the gun in the bag, she immediately assumed that Clementine was capable of defending herself and thus could be a
That's
threat.
true. That's
The
true.
way I saw it was, I think the girl saw Clementine as a threat because, you know, in a zombie apocalypse world, anybody can be a threat, with or without a gun, and she could have saw her as a threat, and she wanted to make sure that with that gun, she is the alpha female and wanted to try and take whatever she can and then get out of there, like talking big, and because I got a gun and everything.
Yeah, some of the things that she was trying to do with Clementine didn't make sense to me, and again, maybe this is just the way the world is. Like her hat. I mean, I told her that my dad gave me that hat,
Yeah, yeah.
and she didn't care. So like, I was like, how badly do you want this hat that you're willing to shoot this person?
My hair gets
And
blown
it
all over
just
the place. You
didn't
don't
make
understand.
sense to me.
I want that hat. It looks good. No, my dad gave it to me. I don't care. I want that hat.
Yeah,
So
it just blew my mind. Do you guys think that was a little actually realistic? Or...
Yeah. What did the rest of you guys say when she asked for the hat?
Reclusiage?
Well, I said no, because that's obviously one of the most precious things she's got.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's strange, because you're having all the power. You have a gun pointed at a person,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just take anything you want.
So you think she did it? So you think she did it just to give a message or something?
Because she could, you know. She didn't
Yeah.
have a hat, and Clementine had, and she's one of those opportunists. Like, it's a
Yeah.
new world. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to survive. She even said that she had done this before to other people. So she's just a punk. in my book.
It makes me wonder, because of what happens later on. You see how much of a coward she actually is,
Oh, yeah.
Michelle. How
Yeah.
much of a coward she actually is. So it makes me wonder how that would have played out if she didn't have if she didn't have the gun, because I don't think she had any other weapons with her.
No,
I think she just
took the
went
gun.
into the bathroom, found the gun, and as soon as she got the gun, that empowered her to essentially go from the coward that she actually is to suddenly, being able to pick on someone,
Smaller than her?
smaller than her. Right? Is that what you're going to say, Carson?
No, I was actually going to say that I don't know if anybody heard it very well, like when you were doing your Let's Plays. Did you by any chance hear, like when she was going into the bathroom, I think she was starting to like whimper, like she was desperate for something. It's like, she was like,
I didn't notice
I don't think
that.
I did. I'll listen
No, I
back to
didn't
my
notice
footage
that.
for that,
That's
though.
interesting.
I think I heard her whimper, like, okay, I think this girl's a little bit of... I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this girl has to be a coward, because if she's,
Yeah.
like, this desperate to get something, and then she gets a gun and acts all tough, then, yeah, she's not really a big threat or a challenge to anybody, and she was just trying to act tough, and I'm a bully, what are you gonna do?
That might be why she wanted the hat so bad, is because it wasn't the hat that she wanted. She just wanted to, I guess,
Know that she had power over
know
someone.
that she had power over someone,
Yeah.
because maybe she was in a situation where she didn't.
Well,
So-
for Clementine's defense, I would say the hat to her was symbolic. I think it still
Yeah.
ties to like her family and to Lee, and she didn't want to give up that idea or that belief that they're still with them spiritually, if you can say.
Right. Kathleen, were you going to say something?
No, I think that the idea that, having a gun almost empowered her for a moment when she was really coward, that was really revealed when she accidentally shoots Omid, and then afterwards she's surprised with herself because she didn't think she was capable of it either.
Oh no, she dropped the gun. She was terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she paid the price for it.
Oh yeah. Krista does not mess around.
Yeah. I was, as all of you probably predicted, I was ticked when Omid died.
Because I knew that Omid was one of your favorite characters.
I loved Omid. He was my second only to Doug. I loved Omid.
This is the reaction I remember of Hark. You were like, oh!
and
my reaction was like, what the?
And what
I know. I was not under the illusion. I figured that if Omid and Krista were coming back, I knew that either of them or both of them were probably not going to survive season 1. And part of me even felt maybe one or both of them will die sometime in episode 1. But I did not think that they would just kill them off within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, first 5 minutes. You know what? Screw it. You know, fine. I'll talk about the thing I hate. I hated that pretty much every main character that we had in season 1, the people that we got to connect with the longest, they had some big emotional, meaningful death. I mean, with Kenny when he gets split off, and of course Lee.
Yeah.
And Duck and Katja, but then this one is literally in the 5 minutes, almost as an afterthought. They just added. It seemed like they just like, oh, we have to kill someone off immediately. It's a Walking Dead episode. Go. And I was like, and I actually was ticked at the game designer because I was like, you don't even, because I was looking. I played the game as if because I just gone off of season 1 and the DLC, but I was playing the season looking at it as a whole new season, as if I was trying to show someone this for the first time. And to a lot of people playing the game for the first time, because they give you an option to load default choices of a season if you don't have it, they just kind of kill someone before you even get a real chance to bond with them and form a connection with them, unless you played the first season. So they really left a lot leading, as if they assumed a lot of the player having played the first season already.
That's a good point.
And I'm going to point out that I'm pretty sure that everybody agreed everybody here was shocked that Omid was dead. He's like a nice, funny, caring guy. And when he died, everybody was like, oh, no, what? Why would this happen to such a good guy? Why would this happen? I was pretty much terrified too. I was like, you have to be heartless if you didn't think that was emotional at all.
Or or again, if you hadn't played season 1 and you were like, oh, an NPC person. Well, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But it definitely resonated with me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, no! Why did 5 minutes? I've even been recording long enough for this to be okay."
I actually,
go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
I actually loved that he died in the first 5 minutes, and I'd say I like that he died. I mean,
I'm not gonna hate just
story-wise.
I love this guy, and I think he's funny. He's awesome, but it goes to show that not everyone needs to die a heroic death. Death could just be meaningless, like in this case. It's just an accident, and it shows that no one is safe. Not the main character, not the NPCs.
Yeah.
It could just happen. Not everyone needs to die a heroic death, and I think it makes it more realistic in a way.
Fair enough.
Omid's death. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that I thought it was really significant for setting the tone for this episode, even because he is such a pure character, in my opinion. I mean, he's never really demonstrated any hatred or evil, and I feel like a lot of the characters have kind of fatal flaws, and killing off such an innocent character at the beginning kind of it increased the vulnerability of the story. I feel like.
I'm gonna comment on that. What Kathleen said. I don't know if anybody noticed, and it happens later, but I think the death of Omid pretty much hardens the last two of, let's say, Lee's group. It hardens the last two of them. You look at them; they're caring. They're not hardened. They're not like we're not gonna try and look out for our own skin. We're not gonna hate anybody. We're not gonna trust anyone. They're pretty much. They looked like they were open to pretty much meeting new people and bringing them into the fold. But when that snapped away.
Yeah, Krista seemed really like she had really changed because of that for the worst.
And and I guess in more ways one which I guess might or might not lead to the next topic, and I don't want to direct the conversation as such, but what was your guys' opinion to seeing 16 months pass, it said, I think, was the time difference.
Yeah, it was 16 months.
And all of a sudden she's no longer physically visibly pregnant, and not a word is spoken about that. Or it's never addressed what happened. What was your guys' thoughts on that?
Again, I just love that because you don't have to tell, like I said before at the beginning of the podcast, that you don't have to have the whole story to enjoy it. I like a bit of a few gaps in the story that you can fill in yourself. I'm sure we'll find out later, perhaps episode 2 or 3, what happened. But right now, I like it. Yeah.
Did you want to answer first, Hark, about that?
I was going to say, I think that by not addressing the fate of the baby, because I think it's safe to say that the baby just didn't make it eventually, either during birth or after birth.
Stress or something.
By not even talking about it, although you can clearly tell because there's no baby around and Krista's definitely not pregnant anymore after 16 months. I think it makes the whole thing more tragic and more sad because it's a topic that's not worth mentioning, because there's no need for Krista realistically to suddenly talk about what happened to the baby, or for Clementine to not talk about the baby, because if you think about it, you wouldn't bring it up.
Yeah.
Because something like that, something that horrible, you wouldn't bring it up ever again, and you would just try to block it out of your memory as much as possible. So I think,
as far as exposition dialogue, they wouldn't.
Yeah, I think that technique was very powerful and a very good way of storytelling, something that you can pretty much deduce on your own.
Fair enough.
It's true. I know someone who had a miscarriage, and usually everyone around them just tries to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
It's one of those tragedies that you just don't want to talk about,
Exactly.
When on Kathleen saying when it was a miscarriage, I personally believe it was a miscarriage, so that nobody wanted to really talk about it because it was a really negative thing. Right when you know that Krista's baby didn't make it, you see that she's lost the baby weight, you realize, oh, that baby didn't make it. Oh, this is. I don't want to talk about it now. It's not good. Just don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. It was like that feeling.
Yeah, I personally was. I guess you'll consider it a really simple symbolism reference, but I had symbolized that baby as like the hope or whatever, that a world without the walkers ever could reemerge, and just having it be, and just having that dive in a sense alongside Omid as far as the story was chronologically going. It was a pretty powerful scene, just silence and them staring at the fire.
The death of Omid and the implied death of Omid / Krista Jr.
Little Omid.
Still, it affected me during the episode, but it still haunts me to this day. Because actually, while I was watching your Let's Play of Season 1, Lucky Jack, just earlier this week, when just listening to Lee talking to Krista and Omid in episode 5 of Season 1, and telling them, you'd be great for Clementine. You should, you guys would be great, guardians for her. Please take care of her. And going into the season, you're thinking, oh well, yeah, that's of course it'll be great to see how Krista and Omid are able to take care of Clementine with their baby and their family. And just watching that episode again, episode 5 of Season 1, after this episode, just broke my heart.
Yeah. So. Because it looked like they were off to a really good start in the beginning of episode before they went into the bathroom and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have another theory.
Go ahead.
She might have given the baby away to other survivors. It's not uncommon that women go through some depression sometime after giving birth. And what if Krista gave birth to a baby boy, like you said, little Omid, and all those feelings comes rushing back, the fond memories of the man she loved, and now she can't have him, and she doesn't want anything to do with him. She just wants to move on. So maybe she gave it away to other survivors who were parents and just moved on.
That could
Again,
definitely
something
be
you don't want to talk about, you know.
But
That would be a good theory. It would be a good theory if
Yeah.
that actually happened, but I'm not sure if they're gonna like let's say progress, or they're gonna shed some light on what happened to little Omid slash Krista Jr. If they're gonna ever imply what happened to the baby. I don't know if they're gonna shed some light on that in the future.
but Dave,
Yeah.
but Dave, that definitely does seem like a theory that they could very comfortably write into a story and make it realistically be apparent.
Yeah.
On one hand, I question whether or not Krista would be the type of person to give up a child, but I guess if she was so devastated by what happened to Omid that led to a little spiral
Yeah.
Plus,
emotionally.
postpartum depression is it can cause some pretty drastic personality change.
Mhm.
So I mean it even if it's not necessarily in her nature,
Mhm.
there are things that women suffering do often that's not really in their nature, so it's possible.
Alright.
Speaking of change of personality, the way that Krista starts treating Clementine 16 months later, I think that if you watch carefully during the scene of Omid's death, you see Krista looking at the gun and then looking at Clementine. How many of you guys think that the reason that she was doing that is because she partially blamed the death of Omid to Clementine, that she blamed Clementine for his death partially?
I could see that. Or at least, like, especially 16 months later, seeing how dismissive she was of her, or at least indifferent. I definitely could see that she had some negative feelings for her. Not necessarily saying that she was the full entire reason, because of course Michelle was the person, but
had a lot to do with it too.
definitely she played a part or two, had a hand in it, if you would say. No, moving on. But definitely, I could see that she had that mentality of, if Clem had never gone in the bathroom with the gun and had she never let the gun out of her sight, Omid might have still been alive. I definitely could see that sort of thought process running in her head.
Well, do you remember? Do you know the last thing Omid said to Clementine? The very last thing he said to her was, "Make sure that you keep track of your things," or something along those lines. She goes in the bathroom. He's like, "Keep track of your things," and Clementine, for a split second, granted she dropped the bottle, so for a split second she left the gun unattended. But Omid specifically told her to make sure that she had everything on her.
She should have took the gun She should have took the gun with her into the stall. Is what she should have
On
done.
hindsight, yes. I'm sorry, Carson. You've been waiting patiently. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, if Krista was to blame Clementine of the partial death, like she's at fault of Omid's death, I would say she's probably like a 2 out of 10. Yes, she forgot her things, but nobody would have expected Michelle to walk into the stall and just the bathroom and just take the stuff. So she can't personally blame Clementine for that, but for leaving her stuff behind unattended with the gun, I could see that possibly happening.
Mhm.
But I think if I had to say my own opinion, or from what I saw in my Let's Play and yours, I would say no. I just see that Krista has to realize is when she looks at the gun and looks at Clementine, she has to learn to keep all her stuff together, but she also has to learn how to try and survive as a more, like, as a better person than what was going on earlier.
Yeah, and I guess I will quickly say, because I know we have to move forward in the story a bit more as well.
That's fine.
But in my Let's Play, I was confused as how Michelle got past Omid and Krista outside. Because I think I don't know.
They were in the other bathroom.
They were in the other bathroom. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, that was it.
I think it was. I think that if you listen carefully to Krista and Omid's conversation, I think that Krista and Omid were having some alone time in the bathroom because they were kind of flirting with each other about Vegas. So and Omid was like, "Clementine, go in the other bathroom." So
I guess I didn't catch that.
I think that was I think that was what was the implication, and I guess Omid decided to check on Clementine, and
Then,
yeah.
Freaking doors. That's why we use the buddy system, everybody. Whenever we if we're in an apocalypse, remember the buddy system.
And whenever you're in a horror movie, remember, sex equals death.
Yeah.
So don't have
Never
sex.
have
That's
sex.
so bad.
Nobody will die.
They should have just waited for Clementine to go to sleep or something. I just...
Yeah, she's out cold. Let's do it.
Well, before we get too off tangent, I'd
Yeah.
like to point out as well that I thought exactly the same at first, that she blamed Clementine. But I think she realizes that when she looks at the gun, that she has to pick up the gun and shoot her lover in the head,
Oh yeah, that too.
and the other girl as well.
That's true.
You can see in her eyes as she looks up
What has to be
that,
done?
man, I have to shoot him in the head,
Yeah.
and that's tough.
It is tough.
So, the campfire bit.
Yes.
I think I made a mistake when I did the campfire bit.
Oh.
See,
Are you talking about? Go ahead. I think I know what you're about to say.
the
but go ahead.
the kindling thing or whatever?
Yeah.
See, no. Well, here's what I did. I thought that the log would not work. Like I was gonna be roped into using one of the things, or because I've made campfires before. You can't just put the log in. You need some kindling or some paper to start it. So
Yeah.
so I tossed in the photo of Kenny and Duck and Kaja, the
Gotcha.
drawing.
Well, between the two, I would think that was what you would have picked.
Yeah, because
Between the two.
I didn't want because whereas Lee, there was all this stuff that I felt like Clementine should still remember, should still hold on to remember of him. Kenny, Kaja, and Duck, that was just a huge depressing thing that I didn't want. That I guess I would like her to start shutting out of her mind, because not to say that they're evil or bad, but just their whole story that she remembers is just all bad.
I think the writers or the programmers of the game did a good job of introducing at least the idea that you could throw in Lee's photo or the picture of Kenny's family into the fire, even if you didn't have to. But just the fact that the choice was there, period, made you stop and think, my gosh, like, if if I had to make a choice, if I had to make the choice and it was between eating or not eating, would I be willing to burn these items, and if so, which one would I choose to burn? I mean,
but you didn't have to. You could have thrown in the log.
You didn't have to, but it at least made me think, even though I didn't have to.
Well, I fell for it, and there you go.
I have to applaud these writers, developers, game programmers, everything. I really applaud that you have that as you, the gamer, the player, playing as these people, and you have to make a decision. I really like that they're making you think about your decision, and you're gonna be like, what would I really do in this situation?
Because most games, like Mario jumping, it's very short. You just think in the short term, like, oh, I gotta jump on that block. Oh, when I get there, I'll jump up another block. But with games like this, I was finding myself really thinking long term of how will this play into the next 4 episodes, next 6 hours of gameplay or so that I'm going to be doing when these episodes come out. So.
And I think that's true in any survival situation. In any survival situation, you're always thinking about, the long term and the bigger picture, because if you're just looking at it as black or white, good or evil, as opposed to the big picture, it's going to affect how well you survive.
Yes.
And we've seen that in Season 1 many times.
Yes.
So, Ed, if any of you 4 tossed in something besides the log, what was it and why?
No, I think just the belief, or the findings that she still holds the Kenny family drawing and the photo of Lee is still symbolic, that she's still thinking about them, and she still can't miss them. Yeah, she still has them in their heart. And I was like, wow, that's so sad and depressing. You don't know how to react to that. You're like, you applaud her for trying to have some kind of remembering or memorial to the people, but you feel so depressed that they're gone.
And then I come around and say, hey, in the fire goes. We're eating weasel tonight.
Well, just so as you're going through Clementine's backpack, when you're going through the contents of her backpack, you realize she doesn't really have much. Go ahead. You realize she doesn't really have much, and when you find out that the things that she does have include those 2 pictures, you realize that there's you realize the value in simple things like that.
Yeah. So Reclusia or Kathleen Hart, did you guys toss anything in besides the log and fall for the trap?
I pushed in the log because I'm not a heartless monster. So.
I thought it was gonna be a trap.
It's
that
okay.
It was gonna be...
Yeah, just a log.
I just jumped the gun on that one. How about you, Kathleen?
I just threw the log in there. I didn't want to throw anything else in there, especially not Lee's photo.
And Hark?
I said in my Let's Play that I would rather eat grass than throw in either of those pictures into the fire.
So you didn't
Yep.
So did you throw the log in as well?
I threw the log in as well, and I thought to myself, if the game gave me, if the blog wasn't enough, and it gave me the option to not throw the others and just not eat, then I would have just not eaten.
And Carson, what did you throw in?
I threw in the log because I was thinking about this. I was like, would I really throw in these pictures? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm taking a RPTA class, a recreational survival class in a way, and I know for a fact, and my dad taught me that even just a small little Kindle fire can still make that log burn. You just gotta make sure you angle it right and everything. So I knew I had to throw in that log. I was like, no way would I throw this picture in. I mean, if there was no fire or just a little spark, I would have been like, no, I have to give up the drawing. I would have given up the drawing like you probably would have.
Sorry, Lucky Jack, you're the heartless jerk.
And then I was
You're
the
heartless
asshole.
jerk.
I was the guy who said, hey. I jumped to conclusions. I leapt over a step.
It's okay.
I seriously thought I fell for the freaking trap.
You can't. There has to be a level, at least in my opinion, there has to be a level of being able to not think of this as a game. Because if you start thinking of this as a game, then you end up not doing stuff that you would actually do in real life.
Well, no, because I was also thinking about that, and because I already told you right there, I didn't know that a kindled fire could sustain a log, so in my mind I was going to pick one of the two to serve as kindling for the log, but then they interrupted me, and then after.
To your defense, though, I think that there is definitely. The validity of your explanation, I think, is actually pretty legit about Clementine tossing the picture of Kenny's family because it might be too painful. At that point, it might be too painful to remember them.
Especially thinking of Duck and what happened.
Right, and I think as horrible as this might be for some people, I think the same explanation could be used towards tossing Lee's photo into the fire as well.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, now that I think about it, she doesn't know it. I don't think... Do you think at any point Omid and Krista told her what happened to Kenny?
I'm sure they probably did, because I'm sure she would have asked where he was.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have told her.
Okay.
So anyway, moving right along.
Oh, yeah,
to the part where Krista gets captured in a way?
Yeah, the first big choice you have to make.
We go into that. Krista gets caught, and our very first taste of the new combat system. What did you guys think of the new combat system?
I haven't seen it yet, but the minute I was playing it, I'm sorry, Angel Hearts, I'm sorry, but while I was playing it, in my head I was like, I can't wait to watch Hark's playthrough and see how many times he died to this.
Thanks a lot.
I died a lot too. It took me a while it took me a while to get the hang of it, honestly. And also because I played The Wolf Among Us on my computer, so the controls felt weird to switch back to my PS3. So.
No, I'm actually gonna go against all of you. I actually thought the controls were really easy. If you saw my Let's Play,
I got it too.
They were. You could have adapt to them.
It caught me by surprise seeing the arrow. I was like, I instinctively hit the upper. I was like, oh, okay, let's go. But and I'm sorry, Angel Hearts. The only thing that made me think this was the fact that in your playthrough of the season 1, you died on the part in episode 5 where you just have to click every walker that gets close to you, and I was like, it's a clicking spree. But but in all seriousness, I have not seen that part yet. How did you fare with the new control quick time event sequence?
I actually think I did pretty well. I think I picked it up, and I think doing The Wolf Among Us before helped, because I wasn't playing any of the games on the PS3. They were all on PC. So I think that I would have had a harder time if I had not played The Wolf Among Us, most likely.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm trying to think.
So I'm just guessing. I'm pretty sure everybody chose to do the distraction option and not sneak away.
Oh, yeah,
am I right?
I threw the rock.
Yeah.
I threw the rock. What about you, Reclusiarch, Mr. Pragmatist?
Well, I think you don't sneak away from a friend
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
been with you
Yes.
for
Alright.
so long. And I think like 98% of the players. I think that actually was a bad.
Choice, like it was too easy to.
It was too easy.
make.
Too easy. A good choice should be like 50-50. You know,
Yes.
you could. But this one was like, you have to be a real. Okay, no, I won't judge anyone,
Okay.
but
I know some people that would have picked to run away, actually.
perhaps you should
Yeah.
do.
Maybe
Find your
it's.
No.
It's a weird. It's this game. There's no wrong or right
Yeah.
choices. It's odd in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. That
I mean, you
said,
are saving a little girl, so.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, you know, if you could ask Krista at that moment, in that moment in time, if she think that Clementine should throw a rock and destruct the scavengers, I'm pretty sure that Krista should probably have said that. Just sneak away, leave me
Yeah.
behind.
Probably.
I agree with that too.
And I was
Carson,
thinking
go
that too.
ahead.
Yeah.
Now,
Go ahead,
just
go ahead.
just to support Reclusiarch's statement, I'm looking at a poll right now. Out of, let's say, 100%, only, I'm going to round it up to the nearest one digit, 89% chose to save Krista, and 11% chose to leave her behind. And I was thinking, wow, what? That 11% is evil. But then again, I realized some people probably did a second playthrough and decided to give it a shot and see what would have been.
I was
Yeah,
never here.
I was never here. I never saw anything happen.
But no.
But yeah, I agree with Reclusiarch. You don't leave a friend behind
Yeah.
after you've known him for that long. You just don't do it. I just don't see that happening in anybody's mind. I mean, if you're out for your own skin, then I could see that happening. But no, I don't see that ever happening in the real world, even in a zombie apocalypse.
And I agree.
Yeah, I mean, despite whatever happened between Clementine and Krista since Omid's death, I mean, she still, for 16 months, she stuck with Clementine, and she was still trying to teach her how to survive. Like, you know, you need to learn how to, you need to learn how to set a fire. You need to learn how to, how to do this so that just in case I'm not around anymore, So I think that I agree with David in that a good decision should be something that was more 50-50 and not 90.
Too easy. Yeah. I will. So now going back to the big QuickTime event frenzy that followed afterwards. I definitely think they did their job right, especially since I had not played Wolf Among Us prior to playing it yet. I'm waiting till more of the episodes come out.
Mm-hmm.
But having just been introduced to this new sequence, my heartbeat actually started rising really quickly. I was like, what am I doing? And it did create that sense of suspense and anxiety that I think they did very well with that sequence. I will. We can touch on it more later with the general overview, I guess, what we do at the end of this podcast when we start talking about the thing overall. But what was your guys' opinion on seeing that they, as far as PC controls go, for any of us who played PC, that they ruled out the whole hitting the number keys to select a decision really quickly? They ruled that out completely, and it's all done with the mouse now.
The controls, I really liked them personally. I thought they were more up to date. They're more something you could adapt to. You have to adapt to immediately in order to survive. And it really, I still am kind of glad they kept the hit the numerous Q button thing.
I was actually kind of hoping that they were gonna put different keys so I couldn't predict it immediately. Like, oh, got the Q button ready. Like, what if they did like an F followed by space or R followed by Z?
Or push 9 and then push 5. Oh, wait, what?
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I think they should change up the gameplay every episode just to get us really confused, and then have our heartbeat going really quickly every time there's no.
Because by the end of episode 5 in season 1, I was like, cash the Q and E. It's gone. But
So episode 2, a first-person shooter.
What's
going on here?
Starring Clementine. Starring Clementine.
Episode 3, RTS. Can we say group fighting?
Episode 4.
Just arm Clementine with a minigun.
Yes.
Episode 4, we actually deviate a bit, and they repurposed those little choices to be the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire choices, because that's what they reminded me of the whole time.
Yeah. Episode 4, they'll come to like a raceway, and it'll be like a Mario Kart Mario Kart
I'm actually-
thing where they're
I was actually surprised with all the cool little action sequences I've seen in Walking Dead that involve the driving of cars and hitting things in like Zombieland. I was surprised there weren't any driving sequences involved in, like actual driving control sequences involved so far in Walking Dead.
There's the closest was 400 Days with what's
Wyatt?
his name? Wyatt.
Oh wait,
yes. That's the closest one.
I don't know. I did rock paper scissors and lost and had him leave the car, so I don't know. Can you
Well,
actually...
no. I mean, I meant at the beginning of that scene when they were
Oh.
being chased by the car, and you had to shoot
Fair
the
enough.
Yeah.
car, but that wouldn't really count.
Yeah.
So
But okay, so, racing game.
Let's
no problem.
New thing.
let's get to the scene where she falls into the river.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you want to say about that, Carson?
Oh, I just felt that it was. I really felt like I was scared for Clementine. I thought she was really like cornered at this point, and if she didn't fall into that riverbed or that river itself, she would have been eaten by the zombies. Like you saw like in that option where
Yeah.
she picked the rock, she had to throw it at whatever zombie you chose.
Mhm.
I was like, oh god, I'm scared. I'm what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And she
Leading
falls
up-
in.
Yeah, leading up to her falling up into the river, like, were any of you how did you guys react to Clementine actually fighting that guy, like biting him and kicking him and doing all of that stuff? Which
Yes. Yeah, that girl is so tough. She
Oh, yeah.
just wouldn't give up. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
you can hear this guy telling Clementine, like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Like,
What's
gosh.
going on? Why can't I beat this little girl?
Now what? Now,
He's right.
did more people join them, or was it just that one guy the entire time in that sequence?
No, it was just that one guy.
I think it was that one guy, because I think the other guys were trying to go after Krista.
Okay, because that was it. Because yeah, and I guess I'll say leading up for people watching this. So yeah, you hear gunshots and her running away screaming, but nothing is. And that's just kind of where they drop the story there, as
Yeah.
far as she is concerned.
Yeah.
But the ending to episode 2, moving on. Or not episode 1, sorry, moving on. But yeah, I just kind of felt so with the camera angles and turning around. I forgot that when they zoomed out, you were having this fight in a very small area, because I was like running around in circles, but it felt like it was a really large area for some reason. But it was just clustering everywhere with walkers surrounding you, and I got.
I'm just gonna point that out. Yeah, did anybody feel that? I felt that too. I was like, how is this like this small area, like almost like an arena?
They really-
it felt like that to me.
They really got the rush of that sequence very well. I think they did that,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
again also partially because I had never been exposed to that new system, so my mind was already going like a mile a minute trying to figure out what was happening. But
Yeah. And
you first.
Go ahead,
I think-
Kathleen.
I think another reason why I enjoy this season more than I enjoyed the last season is it's so much more vulnerable playing as a little kid. Like
Yeah.
every time she gets hurt, I
Cringe.
just I cringe. I had to close my eyes at some point.
Oh.
I was like
Don't even.
playing like this. But we'll get to that one part that I was closing.
Yeah.
I bet
Oh,
you guys
that-
know what
I
I'm
know that
talking
part.
about.
No,
We
that,
know.
no, that's,
You know what I'm talking about.
oh no,
We
that
know.
No,
We'll
but
get
I
to
was
that
playing
part.
like this. I was playing like this.
oh no, and that I
And-
was, jeez, that was.
It's just because, you know, I think Lee can handle it, but as a little kid, pain is just so much more intense.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and it's just my heart.
but
Sorry, go ahead. Okay.
final 2 cents. My
ahead.
final 2 cents in the matter was falling into the river seemed a bit cliche, but nevertheless, it happened. I was like, okay, we're on the river, we're going.
But you know what? Her magical hat stayed on her head.
Yeah, I was.
the entire time.
Did not the entire
The
fight.
entire time
Yeah.
when she was being rushed away by the water, not once did that hat come off her head.
She's got a
while she
very
was-
tight head then, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Dude, stick it in there, glue it. All right, we're good.
I think she just tied it. I think she just tied it into her hair. She tied like in the back of the basketball strap. She just tied her hair down like a knot around it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, but yeah. So she comes up on the water, and then we're alone
And we
all
come-
over again.
We come to the part that I thought was the most intriguing of the entire episode for me,
Mhm.
was when she meets Sam.
Yeah.
She meets the dog.
Which I'm gonna say quickly.
Let's
I first saw.
talk about Sam.
I saw him.
Oh.
The minute I saw him, I was like, "Hello, little boy. How long is it gonna take till the riders kill you off, huh?"
Oh.
I know. No, not that I wanted him to die, but I knew they were gonna do that immediately when they introduced the dog. It's like, well, this is gonna end poorly. But I thought they were at least going to give us an episode or so to bond with him, which is why I also had a problem with this episode, was they were killing off people way too quickly before I could bond and form any lasting, connection with any of them.
Were you trying to say something, Kathleen?
Yeah. Well, what I quickly want to say is, I actually had the opposite reaction when I met the dog, because there is, speaking of cliches, there's a cliche when it comes to animals, that there's like the animal companion.
Yeah.
And the whole time you were talking to the dog, I was thinking, oh, finally she has an animal companion, and the way that they're going to develop this series is her protecting the animal the same way that Lee protected her.
Oh.
So I was thinking, okay, this is what they're going to do, because I'm thinking, like, how would I write this? This is how they're writing it. Because they're trying to show that she is becoming her father. But that's why when the dog finally turned on her, that actually shocked me so much. Like, I had no idea that was happening, and it was just awful, because as I think that's another thing of like the attacking innocence in this episode is like
Sam was like that
should be such a memorable thing to get for a little girl to get, like, her first dog or whatever, but that whole memory is just ruined for her.
And
she can't even trust a dog.
Oh look, I got a dog. It's my first pet ever. Oh no, it's attacking me.
And I
I
did at one point have a little flash of hope, saying, oh, they could, like you said, Kathleen, they could have like a connection thing, but I really just was going into it with a huge negative thing, because this game had broken me from the first season. I was like, I'm not even going to expect one good thing to happen.
I was also thinking the same thing along the same lines with Kathleen, because yes, it might be cliche, but it's not something that I have seen yet in any Walking Dead media, whether it's this game or the graphic novels or the TV show that I'm aware of yet, where you have the concept of an animal companion or a pet that ends up becoming your ally during the zombie apocalypse. And I thought when I met Sam that would have been a really awesome new opportunity for the writers to tell a unique story for The Walking Dead. And again, that's why I too was shocked when Sam ends up attacking her and ended up not being a regular season.
You mean a regular dog?
So I guess even more so then, were you guys mad at the... Because I've heard people like get really mad at the creators or the designers. Not that it was their fault, but just were you guys frustrated that they killed again another character off before you even had time, if you're going into it as a new person, to form a relationship or make it? Because the death could be way more impacting and leave a much more lasting scar if they let it develop more.
I honestly thought that they did a very good job of having you bond with Sam in such a short time. But that's what I thought. How about you, Carson?
I'm gonna point something out here. Now, Reclusiach, I hope you can back me up here. Story-wise, I felt it was the right way the story writers had to do it. Like, you bond with an animal, you see him in this almost alone in the forest, and you feel a little sad for him, and you want to take care of him, and hopefully you can bring him along, and he'll be like somewhat your friend and protect you in desperate situations. But when he attacks you just over a can of beans, and you have no choice but to try and get him off your arm as best you can, and when you do, you realize to yourself, even an animal has to resort to desperate measures in order to stay alive.
Yeah, this is what the world is now. Everyone just hates everyone.
Yeah. So, Mr. Reclusiach?
Yeah, he has like... He doesn't hate... He's an animal. Like, it's instinct.
Oh, yeah.
He has to survive as well. So he has to eat the food. What I thought was really tough was that during this, scavenging the camp, I kept talking about how I love my mother's dog and how nice it is, and it's nice to see a dog that's so empathetic.
Oh no!
And that's something I did not see that coming. I was like, oh, he has the food. Oh my God, what's happening? Stop it!
I didn't see what I'm trying to think. I imagine.
Oh God.
So yeah, I also chose to feed him some of the beans from the can as well, and again, I didn't see it. Again, I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't see it coming so quickly, and I was a bit frustrated.
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on! I want to love your characters, Telltale. Let me live with them a little bit before you instantly say, nope, okay, nope, give me another one. Take this. Nope, take another one."
Kathleen, go ahead.
Well, Logan, I think that's really valid, but I kind of want to disagree with you when you say that well, I don't think it's a bad thing that they're killing off so many characters so soon, because I think that this episode and this season is really about Clementine, and as I said, the mood of this episode is really loneliness and abandonment. And I think they're nailing that over and over and over again, is that that Clementine really can't trust anyone she meets, and all of that trust is being violated time and time again. So I think it's just that trauma of abandonment that keeps
she's trying to find some group to.
Yeah, and I almost think that that's just something that they're gonna keep bringing up maybe in the second episode, of that that lack of trust that she's going to develop because of these negative experiences that she's had.
So as far as you first saying, George.
And I think that it actually hurts a lot more, and it impacts you in a different way more when, especially in Sam's case, when the writers set something up such that you can see the potential to bond with the character more. You can definitely see opportunities for Clementine to be able to get the connection, the character connection with someone like Sam, only to see that character pulled away from you so quickly before you even get a chance to actually have that opportunity. I think it hurts more.
So again, I'm conflicted, because I don't know if I'm more mad at the world, at what it's become, the environment that they wrote that allows characters to be taken out so quickly that I don't get to bond with them. But part of me still feels mad at the writers for not, because it's their world. They have the ability to, but that's just me asking.
I felt that I agree with Lucky Jack on this. I feel like, is this the world how it's going to be? I mean, I'm upset that this is how the world has become, and people are even animals now are resorting to this terrible measure. But it's just you don't know if you want to hate it, the world as it becomes, or you have to accept it. Like, this is how it is. We can't do nothing about it. We have to either survive, or we survive in order to survive, or do we survive with friends that we can trust, like people who have logic and everything.
So what was the major choice you guys made when you found the dog? Poor thing. Even though it just I still felt bad for it after it just tried to kill me, seeing it on the tent frame. So I guess mine was, I'll say mine quickly. I chose to kill it. I didn't want to let it suffer and attract walkers and have an even worse thing happen.
Yeah.
You guys?
I killed the dog too. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm like you. I would have thought he was. He would have attracted walkers, because walkers are attracted to noise. Am I right?
Yes.
I think it's noise. And I thought the more it makes noise, the more it's gonna just draw probably hundreds of them in, and I don't want that to happen. And if you saw my Let's Play, I think you did, Angel Arts. I said in the video, I feel sorry for the animal. You don't want to see an animal, no matter what they do to you or whatever they've done to you. You don't want to make them suffer. You put it out of its misery.
Yeah. You guys?
It was a simple mercy kill for me.
Yeah.
Same here.
Simple mercy kill.
Oh no, it was still hard to watch.
Tough,
it was still hard to watch in here, even though I was resolute in my decision.
Now I do have a question for you guys, because I never owned a dog.
Okay.
My roommate has a dog, and I interact with her quite a bit, but not enough to necessarily know the answer to this question. Is how realistic do you think Sam reacted to the beans? Because somebody who owned the dog said that normally what would happen is if the dog was going to attack you for the food, he would have done it outright as soon as the food was available and the can was open.
I guess.
He wouldn't be sitting there begging for it. Well,
now was he talking about the dog that he owned, or about just dogs in particular? Because we also have to remember.
He just thought dogs in particular. He said if the dog was going to attack you for the food, he would have done it sooner. He wouldn't have waited and sat there waiting for you to give them the food and then attack you afterwards. So I was questioning the realism of that specific sequence.
Well, I know.
Yeah, my parents have a dog, and I mean, that's one thing we had to do when we were training her because they've had her since I was a kid, and that you have to make sure that when you train them that they aren't that they feel safe around you and their food. So you're supposed to like learn to like pet them and stuff when you're feeding them so they don't attack you. So I think that is pretty realistic to say, yeah, the dog probably would have attacked before when the beans were open.
Well, I know that he makes gestures as if he's begging, and then whether or not you choose to feed him or not, or
actually,
you
in my experience, the dog usually bites. Well, it shouldn't bite at all, but if it does, it's when you're messing with its food while it's eating.
Okay.
So once it started eating, then
then it's like protective of its food, like it stops growl if your hands come close.
Because she did try to reach back for him when he was eating, right?
Eating it,
But
that's why.
But beforehand, Dave, are they known to bite before the opportunity to them becomes completely apparent that it is their food now?
Yeah, this is my food.
But I mean, like before,
So,
like before he knows, before it's even offered to him, does he instantly see food and say that is mine?
Well, that's probably
That's
how.
the other thing is what type of dog was Sam again? Was he a golden? I don't think he was. He looked like a golden retriever, but I don't know what he was.
That wasn't a golden retriever.
Okay, then
No.
but we also have to determine whether or not the intelligence of the dog, having been housebred and all that, or house trained or whatever, whether or not that lasted a little bit. Because I've had a dog for the last 4 years now, and
well, we don't know how long his family's been dead.
that's the other thing. I don't.
I mean,
We don't know. We can't say for
all
certain.
bets are off once your family's dead and you're fending for yourself. Carson, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, well, I've just already sent you a message saying I gotta go in 5 minutes, so I'm
That's
sorry,
fine.
guys. I have to go. The grandparents are with me. I told them, but they're not giving you guys a chance.
Oh, that's all good.
All right.
The poll that I was supposed to tell you,
For the dog.
rounding up, people who said they killed the dog was about 86%.
Oh.
The people who decided to not kill the dog was 14%. So it actually started to rise, and that was a little bit of a shocker to me. And I was thinking, well, I can understand their argument where they wanted to make this animal suffer that attacked them. I mean, in a way, if you feel a little heartless, you would do the same too. But if you saw an animal suffering like that, you would kill him. But getting to what I think it was Lucky Jack saying it. Yeah, you were saying about the instinct and the intelligence.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Rakuzak was actually the guy who first touched on the instinctual. Yes, he was just doing what was surviving, and then I touched on it could be. But what I was trying to defend was perhaps maybe the reason why he didn't eat the food immediately was that the last bit of intelligence he had was wait my turn. But then once he realized, okay, it's my food, it's like no, you had yours, now it's all mine. But I was calling to question.
I agree with you, Lucky Jack, because once, let's say, food gets on the ground and the dog starts eating the food, Sam starts eating the food, he immediately thinks, it's mine, I want to have it. And when Clementine grabs it, you could see he immediately gets
defensive
his
of it.
instinct. Yeah, he gets defensive and angry and starts to attack Clem because he says, that's mine, you've already had yours, I'm going to eat this now.
Right.
And I think that was a key point that Lucky Jack laid out.
In his mind, in Sam's mind, she had her fair share.
Yeah.
And
If you even chose to offer it to him regardless, because I know there's a
Correct.
choice because she's like, no, it's mine. It's like, no.
Yeah.